gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Bass in your face.
What the hell is going on down there?
Bass in your face.
Greetings with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why, but not everyone uses logic. For that reason, it is called uncommon sense. I also have another YouTube channel called Latina Diaspora, where I discuss issues pertaining to Latinos in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and meaning if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you will need to subscribe to the channel. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to excuse me. I want to give a huge shout out. Hello? 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 Okay. Whether you've been a sign, I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you have not done so, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set to produce content. You will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. Now, tonight's topic is having some technical difficulties. There seems to be a substantial delay. Okay, I'm going to try to continue. Tragedy is something that we all have to deal with, whether it be because of an illness, whether it be because we have a death in the family, whether it is ending of a romantic relationship, or, or, or illness. So we're going to be talking about how to deal with these situations which occur. Now, I'm going to essential delay. If not, I'm just going to have to continue without it. But in any case, we're going to have another episode of In My Words. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is, first of all, we are going to what's called Holy Week, okay, which for Christians is one of the most important weeks of the year. Many Christians remember entering into and the people praising his name, calling him. A few days later, unfortunately, many of those same people that was crying out, Hosanna, 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 will be the ones that'll be saying, crucify him, crucify him. And it is very easy to be critical about those people uh, as being fickle. But the reality is, many of them, when someone is doing very well, the number of supporters um, will shrink to a very minute few, and that all of us, or I was saying, okay, we will stick with someone when they're doing well, but when there's a failure or whether there's some sort of difficulty, need is a little patience, a little understanding, perhaps a little help. So while it is true that many of those people did, turn their backs to Jesus, how many of us have been just as guilty? But we compromise on our values in order to be liked in the world, in order that we don't face difficulties or have to make difficult decisions. It is something that we all need to think about this Holy Week. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is, of course, cooking with Kaya. Now, for those of you who are into TikTok, she was an instant with her, with her little jingle was cooking with Kaya, and then her twerking her little behind and cooking and talking about, well, if you're not careful, I'll see your man. Unfortunately, she faced a lot of backlash. Many of women who did not like the idea of a young black woman um, appeared to be marrying uh, poor men. It made some mistakes along the way, like we all did. Okay. But it just goes to show that successful, one can become a flop. So it says we should be proud of our achievements. We should not let it go. You could be on top, and the next day you could be in the bottom. Which is, and this is something that off. And for this reason, I try to keep an even keel, so to speak, while I'm happy and overjoyed with the success that I've gotten with my channel. Excuse me one moment. Hello? My apologies. Okay. Uh, it was that um, the people who support you. So that's why I always make it a point of, giving a shout out to the people who are always supporting me, because you're the ones that decided week in and week out um, to support my channel. And that's something that I do not take for granted. So with that being said, we're going to go to the main topic, and with the way my internet is acting, when I'm not even going to cue the music. I'm just going to. Good evening, Don Armando. Thank you very much for stopping by. And of course, Don Armando has his own YouTube channel where he produces content. So I'm going to ask that you show some love to him and subscribe to this channel. And tragedy always seems to come for a great deal of the time in inopportune moments. And it can come in many ways and in many forms. Uh, I myself have dealt with a great. First of all, I have attended the funerals of siblings, two of my grandnephews, and several other members of my family. And sometimes when you're dealing with tragedy, you don't know how to act. You don't know how to respond. And sometimes you can feel almost hopeless when dealing with tragedy. It's time like this when the serenity, and in the serenity prayer, it talks about help me to deal with the situations that I can control. Help me to deal with those situations I cannot control. And help me to discern the difference between the two. Now, death is something we cannot avoid. We will all eventually, at some point, will between. Okay. So when it comes to dealing with first, let me just share with you what it means. Just something to think about. Dealing with tragedy involves acknowledging pain, allowing yourself to feel emotions like anger or sadness, and seeking support from loved ones or professionals. Key coping strategies include maintaining routines, journaling, limiting media exposure, and give yourself permission to grieve at your own pace. Now, one thing that I have said before, and I will continue to say, is that there is no timestamp on grief. Okay. And everyone deals with grief differently. I mean, and you can still deal with grief that happened 50 years ago and treat it as it happened yesterday. Now, of course, some people when they deal with a death, some people try to ignore it. Some people try to isolate themselves, and sometimes people deal with death with developing dependencies on chemicals and things of that nature. Now, what I would like to do is share with you some coping strategies to help you to deal with tragedy. Now, the first strategy is to acknowledge the process and process emotions. Do not avoid or bottle up feelings. Accept that you are in pain and allow yourself to feel it. Okay. What some people foolishly do is they try to hide it. They try to mask it. All it does, it just intensifies the pain and the loss even further. It is perfectly okay to feel pain. It is perfectly okay to feel grief. It is definitely okay to be sad because you're dealing with uh, the loss, or you're dealing with an illness, or you're dealing with a betrayal. All those are honest emotions, and allow them those emotions don't to surface. The next coping mechanism is seeking social support. Connect with friends, family, or support groups to share your experience, as isolation can hinder healing. Now, what some people, how they deal with the tragedy is that they try to avoid contact with others. And that's not a good thing because it does interfere with healing. Okay. And it is when you're dealing with tragedy that you need the support of your loved ones even all the more. To just to be able to speak with someone, to cry on one shoulder, and there are various support groups that you can join dealing with all sorts of tragedies, whether it be a support group for parents who have lost a child, whether it be support groups for those who just recently got a divorce, support groups for those who recently lost their employment, and support groups that are dealing with medical issues. Um, the key is to acknowledge that you have a problem and that you need help. Okay, so let me just yeah, you know what? I think, Don Armando, that's something that all of us has been. My internet is acting up, so uh, yeah. I mean, when it comes to deal with death, it's not easy to deal with loss in any type, whether it be, and unfortunately, I, I have dealt with many type of tragedy. Dealt with the loss of loved ones. I, I dealt with the betrayal of people that I trusted. I have um, loss of romantic interest. I have also dealt with failure. Okay. One thing that will help you to deal with it is to realize that all these emotions, they are okay to happen. And let no one try to tell you otherwise. Let me just see. Now, another coping mechanism is maintain. Yeah, I really am sorry, Don Armando, for your loss, because I too, um, my mother passed away. Hello? Hello? Okay. Um, I too have lost my mother. And in fact, this coming July will make it 6 years. And the fact of the matter is, um, that is a more deeper loss, okay? Because the fact that she was, stood by you, she was the first loving presence that you felt with. So the loss of a mother, okay, hard. Yeah, I again, Don Amano, I really am sorry for your loss. I really do. But And believe me, there have been many a times that I've cried dealing with tragedy. Um, Many a times I wondered why it happened. And because God understands your pain better than anybody. You're talking about death. He gave his only son for us. When it comes about betrayal, he experienced betrayal by supposedly God's people. Just like we dealt with disappointments, God has dealt with disappointments as well. Now, another thing, limits media exposure, traumatization, especially during large scale tragedies. Okay. One thing that troubled me okay, I might have to switch my phone if I continue to have any difficulties. And again, my apologies. But let me just share with you to the hospital to see my other brother, and he was dealing with renal kidney failure. So I go to Facebook and I see this note, this posting that my brother Other had passed away. Brother, to find out what's going on. And to my disappointment, to my sadness, my brother did pass away. Now, what one of my siblings did that she took it upon herself to post it before letting the siblings know. Now, I was upset with her. She didn't know how I was going to react. But at the same time, I had to remain calm and not create a scene with the rest of my family. And then when passed away, the same thing happened again, except this time, two of my grandnephews me to no end because the fact of the matter is that the family, everyone in the family should have loss for my grandnephew. So you can just imagine that. I mean, a 6-year old dealing with the loss of his great grandmother that way. Yeah, that is very sad, Donna Mom. And the fact that you was on your way to the hospital made it worse. And which also leads on the day that my mother passed away, um, that my mother was transiting, and that so what I did was I got home as soon as I did. My mother passed away. Okay, my apologies. If this happened one more time, I'm gonna have to switch to my phone. Yeah, I mean that. But what happened to you, Donna Mondo? That was truly messed up in also many different ways. But so I made it a point, and I, share with my siblings. When it's my time to go, no one, and I repeat, no one is to share any information on because no one should find out about a relative's passing on social media. And I repeat, no one. Another way to cope with social tragedy is focus on basic needs, which is making sure that you get enough sleep, eat healthy meals, and get some fresh air. In other words, make sure that you eat properly and rest properly. You can do that too. Okay. Now, another coping mechanism is express your emotion through journaling, painting, music, or music. Okay. Now, I'm going to share with you what to avoid when it comes to dealing with tragedy. Okay. Do not use any substances like alcohol or drugs to numb the pain. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take a bad situation and make it worse. So please do not try to numb it with alcohol or drugs or even sex. Do not isolate yourself. Do not shut down or withdraw from others completely. And avoid long term denial. While denial is a stage of grief, long term refusal to accept reality of the situation hinders healing. Okay. You're not doing yourself any favors. Okay, when you know what, at least you're taking accountability down the model as as far as that's concerned. And look, many people had hit the bottle when they're dealing with tragedy. Um, Others have not. I mean, it's. I mean, we all have to. We all try to deal with tragedies in our own different ways. Now, there's maybe a time when you may seek. Yeah, it's understood. Now, there might be a time where professional help might be needed, and I'm going to give you some key things to consider. If you're having trouble sleeping or managing daily life, if the tragedy is causing you to focus so much that you're unable to do the things that you need to do, it may be a time that you need uh, professional help. If you are experiencing thoughts of self deletion or overwhelming despair, that is definitely a time to seek professional help. Because what you because when you're dealing with those things, those thoughts, you're not thinking rationally. And what you could do is create more pain for your loved ones. And if you are stuck in a prolonged state of grief, um, get therapy. Okay. There is no shame whatsoever to try to get help uh, dealing with tragedy. Now, I'm going to share with you further some of the things I had to deal with. Okay. Like I said before, I, I've dealt with family passing away. Okay. From a I mean, we went from a family of 10 and siblings mating. So we're kind of like, in a way, the surrogate parents for our younger siblings. The death of four of my siblings. One sibling at age 36, a second one at age 6, and all of it sad, or I have also dealt with tragedy as far as betrayal. Me, and I married someone else, and that broke my heart. Trying to recover. Also, I have dealt with failure as far as losing opportunities for promotion, as far as not achieving um, certain expectations. Yeah, it's understandable. It's very understandable. But when I think about the tragedy, uh, when I think, okay, when I think about the tragedy that my older sister went through, losing only son at age 22, that's a very painful loss for a parent, because no parent should ever have to bury their children. My oldest sister, went through it once. My mother, God rest, the first time was 36 years ago, when my oldest brother passed away. And then, no, I'm correction. No, 24 years later, with my younger brother, who passed away at age 49, because he was diabetic and he didn't take good care of himself. He gained weight and he died alone. And then the following year, my older brother passed away at age 50. So my mother had to go through, another loss. And then 5 years later, when my older sister, and that was very painful for my mother to go through burying four of her children. And with me, uh, in January of 2020, I lost my older sister to stage 4 lung cancer. And while I'm still grieving her loss, so unfortunately, we had to go through we have to go to me and my siblings have to go through the grief, and we haven't fully recovered with my sister's passing. That passed away. I took my mother's passing the hardest because I was the one that's closest. And and of course, so we couldn't. So, so we couldn't have I mean, much of a public funeral other than the immediate family. And we're still dealing with the loss today. Because again, as I time stamp for grief. Oh boy, come on. Time stamp for grief. You can still be suffering the loss of a loved one 20 years down the road or even 50 years down the road and treat it as it was just yesterday. But by all means, don't try to hide it. Don't try to isolate yourself. And for goodness gracious, do not take alcohol or drugs. All you're doing, and truth be told, um, will not be too happy with the fact that you are taking alcohol and drugs to try to numb the pain. We don't want to deal with pain. We don't want to, we don't want to hurt. But it is part of the healing process. We have to experience the pain, and then we have to let the pain go. And we need to seek the support of our friends and loved ones, support groups, but most of all, God Almighty. Because He understands better than anybody your pain. He understands better than anybody what you go through. And truth be told, there's no pain, there's no hurt that God has not seen. That's why in First Peter chapter 5, verse 7 says, calls us to place our cares on God. And Jesus okay. Jesus went through everything loss. Okay. Imagine Jesus being his own followers. And imagine another disciple knowing Jesus. Now, this is after Peter talked about, oh, I'm not going to leave you nor forsake you. When the moment of truth came, Peter denied knowing Jesus. Now, I'm going to tell you what's the difference between the two. Experience sorrow. So at this point, I'm gonna I'm gonna and then I'm not even going to invite how you would be better prepared how to deal with tragedy. And of course, just be mindful any disrespectful comments, they're going to be deleted. Now, I will be live, will be on Wednesday. Okay. So it's going to be, I'm not going to air any live streams on my other channel. I will do my Good Friday message, announce it either Wednesday or Thursday. Well, deal with tragedies is the key is how to cope. And with that being said, I'm going to close the same way that we always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by the stupidity and massive insanity. And of course, if you have not done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you are dealing with any tragedies this week, please bear in mind you're not alone. God is with you, and God will just believe and have faith. I know it's easy. People will say you're right, but I've gone through many situations in my life, and what I've said is factual. And with that being said, I'm going to wish all of you a very wonderful good night. Stay blessed, and please think about Jesus, especially during this time of Holy Week. With that being said, have a good night, take care, and peace.